set for Budget 2014, Destination Guyana receives more international endorsements and Walter Rodney COI to commence hearings in April. You're watching Weekly Digest, a production of the Government Information Agency that keeps you up to date on what the government has been doing. With the details, I'm your host, Vinita Mishra. It's that time of year again when Guyana's Finance Minister presents the annual estimates of expenditure to the National Assembly and the country at large. As with every other budget, this one too has benefited from inputs of a wide cross-section of stakeholders. This year's budget will continue to promote the government's commitment to accelerate economic growth and social development. It will emphasize macroeconomic stability through the continued creation of investment opportunities, expanding and upgrading physical infrastructure, improving the quality of social services, and strengthening institutional and regulatory environments. Over the past 8 years, Guyana has experienced an unprecedented period of uninterrupted growth, standing out in its economic performance despite the crises that have enveloped economies in the region and beyond. The strong economic performance that the country has witnessed in recent years has been a direct result of the responsible policy stance adopted and the prudent and responsible choices exercised and decisions made over the years by the government. Compilation of the budget began since last year and it presents yet another opportunity for all parties in the Parliament to work together in the interest of national development. The worrying issue of domestic abuse in Guyana was addressed by several groups of concerned stakeholders who work towards the intention of understanding and reducing it.
The two-day seminar addressing domestic abuse in Guyana aimed to provide participants with an opportunity to discuss the major issues in domestic violence cases as they confront them in the dispensation of justice with a view to strengthening the administration of justice. Participants were informed that domestic violence is no longer a private issue, but a public issue which involves the judiciary and other stakeholder groups, and that it is at an alarming level in Guyana.
Within recent times, it has become a stomach-churning experience to read the captions relating to domestic violence reports in the local newspapers. It is horrifying and it is appalling. Some captions that come readily to mind are, for example, man bludgeons wife to death with hammer. Man brutalizes wife, then ingests poison.
There were calls from participants for there to be a more integrative, positive approach in dealing with the issues. The role and importance of a local government system was also underscored, and participants explored the impacts of contributing factors such as substance abuse.
In 2013, Guyana recorded 29 domestic violence murders, with 21 of that number being women and girls. And this reality of the horrifying state of the incidence of domestic violence is best captured in the words of a victim who was interviewed, I believe, in a hospital bed, who exhorted women to run. There is no second chance.
The seminar was held in partnership with the Supreme Court and the Commonwealth Secretariat and the Commonwealth Magistrates and Judges Association based in London, England. It was held at the Pegasus Hotel, Georgetown, with the principal target group being members of the local magistracy, police prosecutors, probation, welfare and childcare officers, NGOs, society groups, and other key stakeholders.
The terms of agreement of the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry guarantees full pardon and protection of identification to anyone who is willing to testify, since the objective of the inquiry is to bring closure to an unresolved issue in the country's history and not intended to prosecute anyone.
No one need at all have any fear whatsoever about coming forward and testifying. The last provision of the terms of reference exempt all those who might have been involved in Rodney's death in any way whatsoever. From prosecution, the president, who is defunct, of mercy and pardon, he has under his hand in the last clause of the terms of reference, and I quote, all persons should be granted an absolute pardon in respect of or incidental to all acts or things done, including offenses committed in connection with or in relation to the death of Dr. Walter Rodney.
The Commission of Inquiry into Dr. Rodney's death was established by President Donald Ramotar in June 2013 on the occasion of his 33rd death anniversary and as per request by his family. The President and the administration have always maintained that the function of the inquiry is simply to unearth truths about a dark period in the country's history. The Commission will be seeking to begin its public hearings on Tuesday, April 22nd.
Everything is tentative at this stage because unless we have a certain number of witness statements and witnesses ready, we wouldn't be able to start on the Tuesday after Easter. But at this point, that is the aim and objective, to start 9 days of hearing immediately after Easter, and thereafter continue after short breaks in 2-week trances.
Dr. Walter Rodney, a Guyanese historian and political activist, was killed on June 13, 1980 in an explosion. His death took place at a time when there was mass mobilization against the People's National Congress regime.
The local tourism sector continues to receive kudos, and thus far for the year it has received 2 international endorsements as a travel destination.
The tourism sector started off the year with a bang, having been listed by the National Geographic Traveler as among the top 5 destinations to visit in 2014. Also coming close on the heels of that endorsement, Guyana has been listed among the top 5 destinations to visit for 2014 by the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC. According to Director of Guyana Tourism Authority, Indranath Harold Singh, these endorsements alone speak volumes for development within the sector.
That alone translates to millions of dollars, US dollars, worth in destination promotion. We are working with all the tour operators and agents to leverage this and to increase the numbers to Guyana. So this by itself is a great push for Guyana and helps to drive demand.
Further, the GTA director said that they also tell a story and show patterns of consistency and return of investments from Guyana's participation in various travel shows and other promotional initiatives.
This also points to confidence in the economy and confidence in tourism. And again, this is also followed by major infrastructural upgrades. And you can see the road network is paving the way also for improved visitor experiences and for more domestic flow of domestic tourists because road improvement in road and bridges and so help to improve accessibility.
The sector has also seen the addition of Copa Airlines, which opened up Guyana to the rest of South America, and at the same time to expanding the network and reach. Thus, the issue of accessibility and airlift will improve dramatically. Copa Airlines is expected to begin its operations in July. In addition, the GTA director said that arrival figures also corroborate the sector's success story for the first quarter. Arrivals at the end of January stood at a 6.3% increase compared to the same period for 2013.
More stakeholders are demanding the passage of the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Amendment Bill in order to avoid international blacklisting.
Stakeholders from a wide cross-section of society are calling on the opposition to act responsibly by putting the interests of Guyanese first by supporting the passage of the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Amendment Bill. During a recent consultation at the Guyana International Conference Center, stakeholders were given the opportunity to share their views.
The impact has already started. Investors are already sharing concerns that whether this is a safe place to do business with. Monies are currently being withheld for fear that it may not go towards a good investment or in a good investment environment. And I want to share emphasize this point. Quite recently, we have had a legitimate money transfer transaction, foreign currency coming towards Guyana, several $million, Ghana dollars. And that transaction normally would take 3 to 4 days. Unfortunately, it took 3 weeks. And this is a living example. Why did that happen? The transferring bank was not au fait with what is happening in Guyana and did not do the necessary documentation for the due diligence that is now required. The intermediary bank, which is a US-based bank, was where the money got stuck. They had many questions, and the originating bank was clueless what was transpiring in this part of the world. I'm saying to you today that our procrastination is not going to create future impact. It is already impacting negatively.
Well, if this bill not got to pass, what will happen with our rice farmer? We can't work in money. How about tractor? How about parts? We can't do any kind of big business. How are we going to do? What really go on? This bill got to pass.
I think it's critical that we come together as a nation to avoid all of the negativity that can occur and that has started occurring already with regards to the passing of this bill. I think we should lay aside politics, as was said at this meeting, and let's do what is right for Guyanese people.
Despite calls from numerous stakeholders countrywide for the passage of the bill, the opposition has been non-supportive. The bill is CFATF compliant. Guyana stands to be blacklisted if this bill is not passed in a timely manner.
There's more to come. Please stay tuned.
The modernization of the Justice Administration System, the MJAS project, has been completed through a loan from the Inter-American Development Bank. Achievements made under the project include amended and new laws, training for personnel within the sector, reduction of the severe case backlog, the refurbishing of courts, increased numbers of judicial officers and training, publication of law reports and their indices online, the establishment of a DPP office in Berbice, computerization of several connected systems, among other aspects.
Guyana as a tourist destination continues to receive international acclaim. The reputable National Geographic Traveler has named Destination Guyana as one of the must-see places in 2014. The renowned magazine said Guyana is the best-kept secret in South America with stunning natural wonders. This year, increased focus will be placed on enhancing the standards within the industry, focusing on tourism products and services, multi-destination itinerary planning, events management, ecotourism, and sustainable principles and guidelines, as well as a grading scheme which will be developed for the industry.
In an effort to better their lives, more than 42,000 pensioners are currently enjoying a 25% increase in their pension. This is in addition to the waiver of the Guyana Water Incorporated's bill. And in another attempt to enhance their lives, over 8,500 pensioners are benefiting from $20,000 subsidy yearly towards their electricity bills with the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated.
In an effort to ease the traffic congestion in and around the city, the Home Affairs Ministry has taken the decision to divide Georgetown into 4 quadrants: northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest. This decision was taken after a comprehensive analysis of the traffic situation. It will see a smoother flow of traffic, especially during the peak hours. A massive awareness campaign will be rolled out to help people navigate the new routes.
Guyana has achieved universal primary education. The focus is now on achieving universal secondary education by 2016. This has already been achieved in some regions, but more work has to be done in regions 1, 7, 8, and 9. There are plans to build and extend more schools with the intent that every single child of secondary age will be able to access a 5-year secondary education program in each region.
GPL Infrastructure Development targets improved electricity distribution and will, before the end of the year, benefit the largest housing scheme on the east bank of the Demerara.
The Guyana Power and Light Infrastructural Development Program includes the construction of several substations across the country. The one which is nearing completion at Grove on the east bank Demerara is intended to benefit residents of the large Diamond Housing Scheme.
Part of the IDP, the construction of these new substations, includes installation of new 13.8 kV switchgear or outlets, as we call them, for the distribution system.
This area of heavy demand is just one of which will be addressed when the IDP is complete by the end of the second quarter of this year.
Plans for the future, we had envisaged in the past new substations on the West Bank and for the one at Parika, because Parika is fast becoming another high city.
Another new substation has been constructed in the Upper East Demerara, and at North Rheinfeld one is under construction, while plans are being examined for one on the West Bank Demerara, where new housing schemes are creating areas of heavy demand.
The acquisition of processing equipment will add further impetus to the spice industry, especially for Region 1 farmers who are planting turmeric and ginger.
The Ministry of Agriculture is soon to install in Hosororo Region 1 semi-processors for processing spices. The Region 1 community was among several in the hinterland that in 2008 were chosen to initiate the spice project. Production of spice in the community, however, declined as farmers started experiencing constraints in getting the product to Georgetown.
We have procured semi-processors for turmeric and other products for Hosororo in Region 1. Those have been procured from India out of the 2013 budget, and we are making arrangements to upgrade Hosororo. First of all, the nursery for planting of turmeric and getting the farmers engaged in turmeric production. They had started turmeric, and because of the transportation problem, they had stopped. So we are getting the plant again so that the farmers could be able to get the plants.
The addition of the semi-processor will see the turmeric being reduced to a powder form, thus making it easier for transportation to the markets in the capital.
We will be installing in the first quarter, which is the next few weeks, the turmeric machine for semi-processing. These are not going to end up with the turmeric powder, but processing it to a level that we could sell that product to Sterling Products.
As a component of the diversification process and towards transforming the economies of hinterland communities, the Agriculture Ministry initiated in 2008 the Spice Project in Regions 1, 7, 8, and 9, where soil types were appropriate for the cultivation of spices such as turmeric, ginger, black pepper, and nutmeg. The focus on diversification of the sector is part of government's holistic approach to agriculture that caters for a strategic sector in the medium to long term.
The Public Health Reference Lab is hoping to achieve international accreditation and become one of the very few institutions to achieve the status by the end of 2014.
Management of the institution is currently working towards achieving accreditation by the Ontario Laboratory Accreditation Agency, having already been accredited by the National Bureau of Standards.
On the 7th of February, we submitted our initial checklist. This is about 150 questions are asked, and we answer based on what we have achieved, where we are. We submitted that. We are waiting a response from them. Should they say that, yes, this lab is ready, they will come and visit in June. And then, if all goes well, we get our international accreditation, which is in accordance with the ISO 15189, which is for medical labs. So that is our next goal for at least up to June, July.
While the reference lab or the National Public Health Lab is responsible for the detection of infectious diseases, it is also tasked with the responsibility of overseeing operations of all the other labs, both privately and publicly run.
The lab is responsible for overseeing the functions of all the other labs, including private and public. So up to recently, we facilitated a training on method validation, method correlation, and that's for public and private staff. We also did a training for our staff on first aid and fire prevention, fire safety. We also would do proficiency testing. This where samples are prepared and sent to the other labs. They do their tests, and then those results are sent back here, and it's evaluated to see how they're doing, because quality control is important.
The lab was established in 2008 with funding from the Center for Disease Control and the U.S. government. It operates as the first line of defense to protect the public against infectious diseases.
There's more to come. Please stay tuned.
Ghana is set to achieve the goal set by the United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF of universal birth registration by 2015. The General Register Office has launched an intensive campaign. It has decentralized its services to specifically cater to the needs of residents living in the interior location. Bedside registration is also done in several public hospitals. There are now 200 registration centers operating in 10 regions. Citizens are urged to ensure that all births are registered.
Guyana as a tourist destination continues to receive international acclaim. The reputable National Geographic Traveler has named Destination Guyana as one of the must-see places in 2014. The renowned magazine said Guyana is the best-kept secret in South America with stunning natural wonders. This year, increased focus will be placed on enhancing the standards within the industry, focusing on tourism products and services, multi-destination itinerary planning, events management, ecotourism, and sustainable principles and guidelines, as well as a grading scheme which will be developed for the industry.
Guyana has achieved universal primary education. The focus is now on achieving universal secondary education by 2016. This has already been achieved in some regions, but more work has to be done in regions 1, 7, 8, and 9. There are plans to build and extend more schools with the intent that every single child of secondary age will be able to access a 5-year secondary education program in each region. The modernization of the Justice Administration System, the MJAS project, has been completed through a loan from the Inter-American Development Bank. Achievements made under the project include amended and new laws, training for personnel within the sector, reduction of the severe case backlog, the refurbishing of courts, increased numbers of judicial officers and training, publication of law reports and their indices online, the establishment of a DPP office in Berbice, computerization of several connected systems, among other aspects. In an effort to respond more promptly to citizens, the Home Affairs Ministry has launched an online crime reporting system which allows citizens who possess or have access to cell phones, computers, or other devices with internet connections to report criminal activities. Citizens can get instant access to security personnel on BlackBerry Messenger via 280-4E429. Reports of corruption can also be made on www.ipaidthebribe.com. These reports can be made anonymously.
In an effort to ease the traffic congestion in and around the city, the Home Affairs Ministry has taken the decision to divide Georgetown into 4 quadrants: northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest. This decision was taken after a comprehensive analysis of the traffic situation. It will see a smoother flow of traffic, especially during the peak hours. A massive awareness campaign will be rolled out to help people navigate the new routes. Time now for Dr. Prem Mizir with Perspectives.
It's this time of the year again. The predictable annual budget war is upon us in Guyana. The opposition's war-wearied wailing of having had no consultations to input Budget 2014 has become the norm at this time of the year, even though budgetary consultations should begin the day after an existing budget is approved. This annual budget war and cry for consultations have probably graduated to becoming an annual festival, and perhaps it is time to accord them a national holiday status. However, for all intents and purposes, the sole player in this war is the one-seat majority opposition. But in order to have a war, there must be at least 2 players, and only the opposition is engaged. Therefore, the war is not real. Recently, Acting Chief Justice Ian Chang ordered compliance with the rules governing the budgetary process in the National Assembly and asserted that there were clear violations of constitutional rules in the 2012 budget cuts. In making his ruling, the Acting Chief Justice invoked Article 171282 and Article 218 of the Constitution. In his interpretation of part of Article 218, Acting Chief Justice Chang noted that the proposed budget is really the Minister of Finance's estimates, that the National Assembly is empowered to approve, but not to amend. For if the National Assembly makes cuts to the estimates, then the estimates become the National Assembly's estimates and not the minister's estimates. The National Assembly now cannot cut the minister's estimates, but has the authority to approve or reject the estimates in their entirety. So cuts in 2012 were a done deal, and as such did not give the minister the chance to address the opposition's concerns. What happened in 2012 will not happen in 2014. Chang's ruling implies that the savage 15% cuts to the Guyana budget 2013, equivalent to $31 billion on the Chedijagan Airport Modernization Project, Ogle Aerodrome Assistance, CJIA Cooperation, Civil Aviation Equipment, and Hinterland Coastal Airstrips, among others, were illegal. These cuts hurt the poor and vulnerable, especially as these public capital investments generally provide increased gains to ordinary people. The budget is the government's plan of development for the next year, and any cut would compromise the government's program of activities. So budget cuts now, as a result of the CJ's ruling, or the Acting Chief Justice's ruling, are now illegal. The Guyana Constitution exercises supreme status and power over the National Assembly activities. For, as in the case of budget matters, Article 171(2)(a)(2) and Article 218 of the Constitution do not authorize the National Assembly to cut, increase, or reallocate the budgetary estimates. Therefore, compliance with constitutional rules becomes the bedrock of all parliamentary proceedings in Guyana. I want to leave you with the fact that the National Assembly now cannot cut the budget. It can only approve or reject the budget, in which case the Minister of Finance will have a way of looking at the opposition's concerns and make whatever adjustments may be necessary. But the bottom line is that the National Assembly, the one-seat majority opposition, cannot cut the budget. Thank you very much indeed.
And that has brought us to the end of this week's program, but before we go, here's a recap of the highlights. All set for Budget 2014, Destination Guyana receives more international endorsements, and Walter Rodney COI to commence hearings in April. Weekly Digest and other government information can be found on our website www.gina.gov.gy, or you can send us your comments and suggestions at ginagovgy@gmail.com. Thank you for watching, and do join us again next week for another program. Goodbye for now.